I think entrepreneurship is also not for the faint of heart. And I believe that there's a rite of passage. You need to be able to spend the time and energy and know what it feels like when there's no money in your bank. You really got to dig down and see who you are, what drives you, and what you're trying to achieve. In the same place, but tomorrow's longer. And you should every team should have one team meeting today. Understand the difference between the types of people, right? When you look at your cash flow, and this is why we emphasize this, right? Why do you cash flow?
Ash, so great to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, so here we are in an INSEAD lecture hall, right? Mm-hmm. Connect the dots for us. You are an entrepreneur, investor, and a visiting professor.
Yes.
And everything began really in a tiny, grungy, probably Hong Kong dorm room in university when your idea struck big and it got sold out.
Yeah.
Right?
So I was born and raised in Canada to an immigrant family, lived the typical immigrant life, and had an opportunity to go overseas for my education. I was always very impressed by the work ethic of the Chinese. So I thought to myself, if I could go to Hong Kong and try to compete there, maybe one day when I come back, I'll be, just as successful, or just at least get my work ethic right. So was sitting in my dorm room in Hong Kong and really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. All I knew is I didn't want to take the typical investment banking consulting jobs that most of the business schools were offering after graduation. So started building up, doing social networking software for the corporate environment. It was like 6, 7, 8 months, and had the right opportunity, met the right person who connected me, and suddenly I am in Singapore, right? Some people call it smart luck, but you get lucky and then you have a chance, and God decides to shine his light on you, and you have a little bit of success. So I was 22 years old, and it changed my life.
For a lot of entrepreneurs who had great success in their first try, actually things tend to go downhill from there.
Sure.
Because money and success, that kind of ruins them.
Yeah. When you have your first exit, especially when you're young, you get attracted by the fast money, the fast car, and sometimes the fast women. When it all happened, it was great from a financial perspective. I remember looking at my bank account and I was like, okay, I don't have to eat steamed vegetables and oatmeal. I was lucky that I was able to find some mentors here that turned to me and said, Ash, this is what normally happens. Don't let it happen to you. And something compelled me to listen to them. And I took a different path, and I started to focus on building it again.
When you were on an oatmeal diet, what were some of the toughest challenges?
I think what people don't realize is that startup and entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. So when you're successful, they say it's lonely at the top. Actually, it's lonely the whole way through. But loneliness is actually a very powerful experience too, because it helps you try to connect to your authentic self. And I got to understand who I was, and I was happy that I could do this in my 20s.
So while you're battling this loneliness, how did you build a team together? Obviously, you've got language issues. You're probably hiring your engineers over in China, not in Hong Kong, where labor costs are much cheaper.
Looking for people to help me. I was going online, looking at all these forums, and there was this one gentleman in Shanghai that said, hey, I will help you, right? Broken English. He was working in a factory during the day. And he was helping me at night. It's very difficult. It's very difficult when you haven't done it before. Now when I'm looking for a team, it's much easier, right? People know the name and they come, and we have developers and entrepreneurs wanting to collaborate all the time.
So a lot of your companies kind of came and gone. There was Interactive SG, which at one point was one of the biggest digital media companies, and then you also had a number of other projects.
So if you look at the companies that I was involved with and I invested in early, it was very much around the idea. Is it cool? Can we have fun? And it's typically how you can lose a lot of money, right? So I'm not claiming that I'm a great investor, because when I started off, I was just doing fun stuff, and I'm sitting here in Singapore, and my money is my money, so I can make those decisions. And so a lot of those decisions started off from the idea phase. And what I've learned, it's not about the idea. It's about team and execution. When I teach, I actually like to talk about my failures more than I talk about successes, because if you need successes, you can just go read Forbes magazine. There's enough people to talk about their money.
Yeah. What are your worst failures? That actually gave you a great foundation.
So we've had several companies that we've decided to develop a concept, and we just got our go-to-market wrong, right? A lot of people are not able to understand. They'll typically say, hey, I'm going to go into this business, and it's $1 billion market, and I'm going to get 2% of it, so I'm going to have $200 million company, and that's great, right? But more often than not, people fail at that. They're not able to understand the difference between the big market, their addressable market, and how they're actually going to tackle the market. Because a lot of people get excited about building a product, and they have 10 or 20 features, and being able to go to the market and say, this is what I want to do, and not do 10 other things, and just focus on the top 3 things, is actually very hard to do. Plays on your emotions, and it plays on your insecurities, because you want to make sure you've covered everything. What I tell my students is, you need to learn from failures. You got to look at your own location, figure out how people failed and weren't able to get off the ground. More often than not, startups have to go through a couple of pivoting phases before they actually find that product market fit. And a lot of people spend too much time in their first iteration. My thought process is get the right processes in place and give yourself the best chance to succeed, and also try to fail fast, right? Get those steps going. And that's what we teach. Part of what drives me is I do believe that we provide an experience for the students to open their mind to entrepreneurship, and also give them the time to reflect on where they think they will fit in the world. And what I find when I'm teaching is when somebody can uncover that, what they're passionate about, and they can suddenly have complete vision of how I'm going to make this concept a reality, is actually a priceless experience.
So you've got a couple of businesses. They seem sort of random. So Turban Iser,
Yeah.
right? So you get people to see how they look in turbans.
So I was flying around, and I was randomly checked at every airport. And for me, it wasn't necessarily about me being Sikh or not being Muslim. It was just about, listen, this is our identity, and I want to share it with you. So the Turban Iser for me was, I'm going to use digital means to share my turban experience. You could turn on the phone, and using facial recognition, you can see what you look like in a turban. And over the last 5 years, we've had over 1 million downloads. So we have people from all over the world, non-Sikhs, that are using it, experiencing, asking questions now. We don't make money off of it. People are like, okay,
And it's
Ash.
okay.
And it's okay. Because I get emails from mothers all the time saying, hey, my son took this app to school, and the kids loved it, and now they understand. Right? So what's the price of that? How much is that worth? For me, it's priceless, and that's why I do it.
And would you say that your investment into the Singapore basketball team, the Slingers, that's in the same vein of thinking?
Absolutely. In Singapore, I think getting a family together, family sports entertainment, having a Sunday event together that's not at a shopping mall, right, or not in a movie theater, is important. My kids have gone to every game, and we have great family fun, and that's value to me. When I look at myself and what I've done this year, am I actually doing something for other people, or am I keeping all the money and driving my Ferrari, showing off my car, and making other people feel jealous of me, right? For me, it's about that impact, and I think that's kind of where my ethos is now, and that's where my North Star is.
Is that same line of thinking driving you to teaching?
So, was invited to INSEAD to be a judge of a venture competition, and what happened was the professors were like, Ash, the students like you. Would you like to run a class? So I took that upon myself, and I started teaching the courses here, and we built this startup boot camp program. I helped develop this course on acquisitions, your first 100 days, which is now the most popular course at INSEAD. 80% of all INSEAD students take this course. And it's been, I haven't looked back. Now, I haven't gotten my MBA yet, right? But so I joke around, I say I am not smart enough to go to INSEAD, but I'm smart enough to teach here. It's been 12 years now. Part of what drives me is I do believe that we provide an experience for the students to open their mind to entrepreneurship and also give them the time to reflect on where they think they will fit in the world. And what I find when I'm teaching is when somebody can uncover that, what they're passionate about, and they can suddenly have complete vision of how I'm going to make this concept a reality, is actually a priceless experience. For me, and it hasn't been from a financial gain, because people are like, Ash, are you investing in all these companies? And the short answer is no. I'm just trying to help these guys ignite. Maybe one day they'll hire my son or my daughter, you know what I mean? That might be nice, but it's very much focused on giving them my all and facilitating an experience where they feel that they can get their concepts to the market.
The course that you set up, which is called Startup Course, you've managed to pull together about $1 billion from different corporations around the world, right? You have everybody from SAP to even the Singapore government, institutions and so forth. Everybody's backing it. But can entrepreneurship or even being digitally disruptive, can this be learned through a course?
Was Steve Jobs born like that, or was he developed into? And the short answer is a bit of both. I think circumstances help in terms of being an entrepreneur, but every single person has the capability to have that entrepreneur thinking mentality.
So are you saying that if you weren't in that tiny dorm room in Hong Kong, feeding off oatmeal and steamed vegetables every day, maybe you wouldn't have been able to think out of the box? My
parents were immigrants, and I could have led a second generation person's life in middle income Canada, right? But I put myself in the deep end, and putting myself in an environment where nobody knew who I was. I had no money. I didn't look like anyone. Okay? Not many people look like me in Hong Kong, right? And so that pushed my creativity, right? It pushed my thought process. It pushed my hunger.
Now that you are more comfortable, do you have the hunger to chase after that startup dream again? Because you've got a number of companies.
I don't think the hunger necessarily goes, but you start to prioritize a couple of things differently, right? And what I in my journey, you make a little bit of money and you have enough, right? Your wife's happy, your kids are happy. If you need to drive a nice car, you can do that. But there comes a point in time where there's a law of diminishing return. So my calling right now is less about me talking about my companies and how much money I'm making myself, and more about how I'm inspiring and developing the next generation of entrepreneurs who are going to create jobs. Because creating jobs is what makes happy families.
I met Ash Singh in January of 2010. We'd been teaching the Startup Bootcamp at INSEAD for a number of years. And at that point, Ash said, look, I want to put this in the cloud as a teaching tool, as something that has videos, that has quizzes and assignments. They can collaborate and talk to each other. And I want to build this in the cloud so that we can bring this into the classroom. And so we started collaborating and working on this. He put a huge amount of work into it. But it was financed exclusively by him. It was not a project developed by INSEAD. But it was something that he wanted to bring as value to the classroom and to the student experience. Until now, it's a really powerful, very engaging tool that anyone of any age can use. Ash is one of those venture capitalists that before he was a venture capitalist, he was on the hungry side. The side of the, I'm not sure how this works. I have to feed myself. I have to feed my employees. I have to figure out where the money's coming from. I have to go to market with the product. I have to figure this stuff out. And the fact that he did that first, and then he became an investor, gives him the insight that not all investors have. But it's the empathy, the perspective, the context for the entrepreneur. So that when he engages people as an investor, it's not just engaging them as money. A lot of people have money. But Ash's money is smart money. It understands the position of the entrepreneur. It understands, what the person's going through.
I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to discover myself, and the best way to do it is challenge yourself and put yourself with people that are going to challenge you, that are going to question you, and not worry about a response. And I have a lot of people, I have people every day that tell me, Ash, you're doing something wrong, right? And people ask me, why do you do that? I'm like, you need to have these people. You need to have the people that, if there's a booger hanging out of your nose, the person tells you, hey, there's a booger hanging out of your nose, fix it. Instead of not saying anything.
I'm Ria Lau. I'm the founder of Group Star. So we help large organizations transform very traditional communications like email, corporate memos into an engaging video using a mobile app and our storyboarding solution. So I met Ash a couple years ago now. I think it was back in 2013, 2014. So Ash has been a personal mentor of mine for quite some time. He's someone that I can just text or call or WhatsApp when I'm facing a different challenge. He always knows the right things to say. So on a motivational level, but also on a business side. Myself and some of the other early employees took Ash's course, so the startup course online. So that really helped us with the initial formation of the idea and the product, just to understand the key watch-outs, when you're developing a new product and bringing it out to market based on his own personal experiences. The best piece of advice that I received from Ash, which still sticks to me today, is how really sales cures all. That's the most important thing at the end of the day, so that must always be top of mind.
Hey Ash, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Hey, good to see you. All right, so here we are at INSEAD. Do you feel comfortable home nowadays? We've already been teaching for almost a decade. How time flies.
And one of the reasons I love teaching at a place like INSEAD is, I get to spend time with some of the most brilliant minds all over the world, but these are the people that push you forward. They challenge you in a different way. And it's a very difficult thing to do. I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to discover myself, and the best way to do it is challenge yourself and put yourself with people that are going to challenge you, that are going to question you, and not worry about a response. And I have a lot of people, I have people every day that tell me, Ash, you're doing something wrong, right? And people ask me, why do you do that? I'm like, you need to have these people. You need to have the people that, if there's a booger hanging out of your nose, the person tells you, hey, there's a booger hanging out of your nose, fix it. Instead of not saying anything or, so you need people like that.
So let's talk about how you're helping a lot of startup entrepreneurs nowadays. How do you mentor them?
Most entrepreneurs have one or two roadblocks that they have that are unique to themselves. Our approach is more like a startup doctor. When we run our programs, we want you to come up with your concept, start building your concept, and look at the product itself, but look at yourself and your team as well. Most of the reasons why startups fail is because of team and execution. So if you can zero in and understand exactly what's holding these people back and say, listen, just focus on this. Product is great, get your finance in order, right? Get these pieces moving and you can move forward. And if we can give somebody 1, 2, 3 means of improvement along with a curriculum that allows them to take their idea to an investable business, I think it's pretty powerful. I think it's something that really changes their mindset in terms of their entrepreneurial journey.
What are the toughest parts for an entrepreneur to take their innovative idea to market?
I think finance, understanding the financial implications of startup, because everyone wants to build a product. Everyone wants to pull out their mobile phone and say, check out my app, right? Really understanding the financial implications from your personal level all the way down to kind of how to run the business is one. I think people also have a challenge to really understand how big their market is for their product. A lot of people love to say, hey, I'm going to launch this product in Indonesia or China, and I'm going to have these many downloads, and
It's got billions of eyeballs.
Billions of dollars. A lot of people think, hey, this is a cool app. People are going to like it. No, it's more than that. You need to make sure that you understand their desires, their basic human desires, and why they're going to interact with your product. And people aren't able to get to that level. It's just not human nature to do that, right? You need to dig down and understand why people...
So what kind of skills do they need to hone in order to identify these problem areas?
Learn how to listen. People don't listen anymore. People text a lot.
That's true.
People want to talk a lot. They project themselves. They read stuff, but they don't listen anymore. This is the challenge. We sit there and we listen.
You've got so many projects going on, and you're spread out pretty thin and worldwide. Do you still have something that motivates you?
I think that my teaching is what motivates me. That's been the undercurrent of everything that I do.
But why?
I think it motivates me because I honestly believe that I've been given an opportunity, a rare opportunity to experience something. And I believe that if I can take that opportunity and pass it on to somebody else, inspire somebody else, that when I die, I will feel like I have added some value to the world.
Oh, still too young. Only, what, 36?
36, yes, but my beard's starting to get a little bit gray now, so some people think I'm a little bit older, but that's what I want to be able to do. Even one person. I get like one email a week now from somewhere in the world saying, Ash, you know what, it worked. Or Ash, you know what, now I can, I've built my company now and I'm supporting my family, right? Supporting my parents. Or I've sold the company and that's really powerful, right? Because I feel like I'm adding value to other people's lives, like actually doing it. And so that's kind of what's driving me right now. And I think that will continue to drive me. We've had over 5,000 students go through our program all over the world, and we've continued to evolve our product. And I think that we have there's a little bit of magic in what we do, right? And I feel like there's a little bit of magic, and it's magical to me because when I do it with somebody, when I put somebody through our program, that magic, the look in their eyes of wonder, and that's exciting, that's powerful, and it's different. It's an emotional feel. It's something you feel, not necessarily something I can maybe describe on TV. It's just an emotional feel. I feel good when I do it.